The next speaker is Hywel Williams.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'll talk quickly. It's a pleasure to follow the Honourable Gentleman from Hexham, and I agree with a great deal of what he says, and also would like to congratulate the Honourable Gentleman for securing this debate. I think it's right, of course, that we should be debating this matter in Living Wage Week. I should say that I launched my own party's policy on raising the minimum wage in line with the living wage in September, and recently my own party, Plaid Cymru, was awarded the status of a living wage employer. Now, the scale of the problem of low wages is, of course, enormous. The number living on an income below the living wage in Wales is 261,000 people. That's 24% of the population, as compared to 22% for the UK in general. Wales is just a little behind Northern Ireland, which is on 27%, the North East of England, 25%, Yorkshire and Humber, 25%, and we are equal to the East Midlands on 24%. In contrast, in London, 17% of the population live under the living wage. South East is 18%. That is, Wales' percentage is a third higher than the most prosperous part of the UK. The percentage living below the living wage by local authority in Wales, and the Honourable Gentleman from this morning will be interested in this, I'm sure. Conwy and Powys on 32%, that's nearly a third of the population. Monmouthshire on 30, and Gwynedd, my own local authority, on 29. And that's in contrast to Cardiff, which is at 18. In fact, the proportion in Cardiff is equal to that in London and the South East. Establishing the living wage would be a great benefit to around a quarter of the people in low-paid work in Wales, and more so in my constituency. Pardon me. The UK rate of low pay is 22%, I think is a scandal in one of the world's wealthiest countries. And this also points to the inequality of distribution of income across the UK. Pardon me. The UK is one of the most unequal countries in the world, and certainly in the European Union. GVA per head in inner London West is 12 times that of West Wales in the valleys. That is a scale of the contrast. But that unenviable pattern is also repeated in Wales, where the pattern is the same. Rates of low pay in Cardiff being less than 2/3 of that in adjacent areas. There are areas close to Cardiff where one can travel very easily in less than an hour and find a very large proportion of people on very low pay.
The Honourable Gentleman give way on the opportunity.
Well, I will this once.
I'm being helpful to the gentleman who may want a drink while he's doing it. He's quite right about periphery areas in the United Kingdom suffering from this. And does he agree with me, therefore, that there should be a concentration of efforts on these low-paid areas? And one way for doing it for government, and I'm making an appeal here that I've done on regular occasions, is to move quality government jobs to periphery areas to help boost those economies.
Well, I agree with the Honourable Gentleman, but I will also say that what we need to do, particularly in rural Wales, is to support small businesses who are, after all, the engine of economic prosperity in such areas. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, my calculations, not my calculations, but those of the Commission on Social Mobility, is that current proposals will not have a huge effect on the percentage of people on very low pay. I did note that the Labour Party have said that the minimum wage should be £8 by 2020, which I think is unambitious, to say the least. Raising the minimum wage to be in line with the living wage makes economic sense, as far as I can see. Currently, the Treasury subsidises businesses to pay poverty wages by topping up wages with tax credits. And I think a model of very low wages topped up by the government is of itself unsustainable in the long term. I think we should be trying to move away from that model. If the minimum wage was raised to the level of the living wage, the Treasury would, after all, be better off by not paying tax credits. Landman Economics calculate that this would be 1.5 billion per annum. Now, I think that money should be reinvested into supporting further employment. And certainly some of the figures that I've seen, using a multiplier of 0.9, would mean that in Wales, the reinvestments would provide 2,475 new jobs. That is, paying the living wage would save the government money. Investing that money would create more jobs and more tax receipts. Now, I did note earlier on in my remarks that businesses, particularly small businesses, have their concerns, and as they had, in fact, before the introduction of the minimum wage. They're concerned that business costs will go up, employment will go down. Now, in the worst case scenarios that I've seen in analysis of this, 160,000 jobs might be lost across the UK, 8,000 of those in Wales. But we have to see this in the context of the growth of private sector jobs over the last 3.5 years, so fairly sluggish growth, in fact. In Wales, we have had 100,000 extra jobs. We might lose 8,000, but that's in the context of a large-scale growth in private sector jobs already. There are other answers. The most obvious one, of course, is economic growth. The UK government tell us that the UK economy is growing in difficult circumstances, I concede. But I think in times of growth, it's fair that the working poor should be amongst the first to benefit. Businesses, of course, as I said, have their concerns, and I think very strongly that these need to be addressed. My party's policy includes support for small businesses, including business rate relief, an increase in local public procurement, which across Wales we reckon would create around 50,000 jobs if local authorities and others bought rather more cleverly and more locally. We also want to see a business bank for Wales to ensure more effective lending, and also a private sector-led industrial development authority. Now, one other point that I will just refer to in passing very quickly is a policy that we've had for a very long time, at least since 2008, when Ecofin decided that it would be permissible to reduce VAT in certain labour-intensive sectors. And certainly small businesses, my constituency, which includes tourism and the building industry, would certainly benefit from a reduction of VAT down to the 5%, which is allowed. Now, I won't go after that point too far, but that is clearly one answer again to the problems that small businesses might face. Lastly, Madam Deputy Speaker, increasing the purchasing power of lower paid workers would be very good for local businesses. Local people who get that sort of increase in their wages tend to spend locally as well. There is a multiplier effect where money circulates and multiplies. Our focus in Plaid is on a Welsh economic recovery driven by investment and job creation, with those jobs paying enough for people to live on. And certainly that's what we will be fighting for between now and next May.
Robert Jenrick.